So hi, my name is Fahad Shrafat and I'm going to be doing the Systems Change Now Youth Voices and Community Solutions video discussion. So question one is, which community-led solutions for people hit by climate impacts deserves wider support? So I think that community-led school programs deserve wider support. An example I gave is eco schools, and the reason why is because I took part in something very similar back in my time in primary school. These sorts of community-led solutions are already run. They teach kids not to litter. They teach them how to better take care of their environment. They also teach them how to farm and make local produce, which they can take home to their parents and educate them as well. If you could set up a consultation or discussion, a decision-making group led by those affected, how do you design its powers and operating rules? So I know eco schools already do have a model with their school council. So I'll take some inspiration from that because I think they have amazing values such as inclusivity and transparency. Those are extremely important because it means that everyone within the community feels that their voice is being heard, and not only that, but they have greater trust for that project because with that project being transparent, they know everything about it, and if they do have any questions, they know that they can ask it to the actual leaders of the project. So in that sense, I would make a council of teachers, students, parents, volunteers, anyone who is affected by the project within that community to make sure that they can express their opinions and their concerns. What kinds of evidence or data most persuade decision makers to change unfair systems, and how should we collect them? So I think what moves decision makers the most is data that's backed up with real life experiences. This is something that I saw at my time interning with the Wellcome Trust. So whenever they had a project, maybe that was about climate change in a specific area, they would always have someone who actually lived in that area and had lived experience with how that was affecting them. And they'd bring them in to possibly talk about their experience in a podcast or in an article. And so in a similar sense, I think a good way to collect it is when doing these polls to collect the data, to reach out to members of the community to possibly give their experience to write up in an article, to provide in the website so that a lot of the decision makers can see how it's how it's actually impacting those that are important in the community and those that are being impacted within the community. So describe a cross-sector collaboration that could drive change at scale. What conditions would it need? So for the eco schools, a strong model would be partnerships between local councils, universities, and schools in general. I think this is important because when you are doing something community led, the council should always be involved so that they feel as though their voices are being held, are being taken into account by those who could make the changes. For this conditions, we need actually to be able to run programs that are physically present in a space, in a location, possibly within the school, where community council members are involved in it and they do show up and they're there to be able to talk with the people within the community. Having university students involved also means that it kind of wraps around students' whole lives, where they see themselves taking part in this during primary school, and then towards the end of their education in university, they can come back and help as well as alumni. So, how can community owned assets or enterprises create lasting economic fairness? And give one practical model. So, a community owned garden is what I would suggest. One that has partnerships within schools, possibly even being inside of a school playground. In that way, parents, teachers, and even local growers can get involved. So that means that everyone is learning something that they can then take home. Not only that, but having a community-owned garden means that any produce that's possibly extra can be provided to local food banks or nearby families that are in need of that food, which would be extremely important. Facing barriers to services like language cost, lack of information, what concrete measures would you remove or add to fix access? So I put that schools can be the bridges. So many parents already have a lot of trust within their schools, and that's one of the reasons why they send their children to those schools. And so having the school be the bridge means that there's already that level of trust between the parents and the school that we can rely on. Not only that, but possibly alumni from that school can come in. The teachers who all have a lot of expertise within being multilingual themselves and being able to help community members. Of course, if a parent is being confronted by someone from the council who's has a lot of power, they might be feeling very intimidated, whereas the teachers can have that level of resonation between them and the parents. And especially if they speak the same language, it can really help bridge that language gap. Um, Council can also get involved in terms of helping for cost. If the parents might not have the correct equipment to go in and help, in terms of like the school garden, or they don't have the time, then the council may be able to get involved, maybe to provide some incentive, to get the ground running with the projects. So, when mobilizing public support, which communication styles or narratives best push for system change? So, the best communication style with a community led project, I think, is something that's led by the community. So, in primary schools, many children already do posters. So, having those posters, maybe putting them around different bus stops or different train stations, I think that can be a very big thing that can bridge the knowledge gap. So having those posters being made by the school children also means that people can see them and say either, that's the school that they send their kids to, and that spikes their curiosity and then they learn more about it. Or if they see a nephew's name written on the poster and they see that they made it, then that can also spike their curiosity. So having it all led by the community within the community is extremely important. So, which policy changes would immediately improve the basic rights of the most overlooked groups? Prioritize and explain. So, I would prioritize universal access to digital literacy and affordable internet. The reason why is because, coming from an immigrant background myself, I think that was the most important thing that my parents had to acclimatize to. So, coming from somewhere where the internet network isn't as strong, um, and then coming to England, it's really difficult to adapt. So being able to provide that information on digital literacy is extremely important, because it means that people who come from immigrant backgrounds, they have the same number of opportunities as those who aren't as fortunate, um, are in a better position. Sorry. So being able to bridge that gap of a lack of awareness of what the internet is, because not only does it mean that they don't have as many opportunities, but it can also impact their children, because of course, as a generation that is run by the internet, it's very difficult for parents to control what their kids see on the internet if they don't have that digital literacy within them. So I think that's extremely important. How would you measure whether a systems change project actually produced greater fairness? What long-term indicators would you track? So I would do polls to collect data in an extremely valuable way. So track progress as to how many students get involved, how many parents get involved, and then also track whether or not they feel as though their voices are being heard with written questions. Ask them why their voices aren't being heard if they feel that they aren't being heard. And the most important part is being able to act on that change, and then take multiple polls along a long period of time, so that we can track if there is actual change going on with the same questions. If you had one opportunity to propose a reform policy to leaders, what would you propose, and how would that reform create a change of positive effects? So I would propose a local skills hub in every borough. I know that a lot of boroughs do already provide certain um, skills led courses within things like colleges, but I feel as though a skills hub that is easy to commute to, that is very short, is something that's very valuable to maybe housewives who don't have a lot of time on their hands, or who have to tend to their children and can only work in hours of school. So being able to go in and quickly learn a skill within a matter of days or a matter of hours, and then also having possibly like an app or a website that helps them track their skills so that it improves their employability is also extremely important. So I think that can create a lot of positive change within communities, because it means that people are being more educated in a very quick way. Yeah. So thank you very much.